The Draconian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their species, massive, scaled beings with wings that could blot out suns, had never bowed to anyone. They were apex predators, engineered by evolution to dominate, conquer, and reign supreme. So when a human colony ship crashed on their sacred breeding world, the Draconians saw it as an amusing curiosity. These soft, weak creatures would make adequate servants. Nothing more. Kael swept the dragon stables, as he had every day for 3 years since the crash. At 16, he'd grown up among the Draconians, learning their language, their customs. Most survivors worked in mines or factories. He'd been assigned here, tending to the dragon's mounts and war beasts in the Imperial breeding grounds. The other humans pitted him. The Draconians ignored him. But Kael loved it. Every morning, he brought fresh meat to the ancient WIRMS. He cleaned their scales, speaking softly as he worked. He learned which ones liked their sleeping caves warmer, which ones grew irritable before storms. The dragons tolerated him. Barely, but that was more than they offered most Draconians. On the day everything changed, Kael noticed the eldest dragon, Vex'tharon, refusing to eat. The creature was nearly 500 years old, her scales dull, her breathing labored. The Draconian handlers had tried everything, even considered culling her. Kael stayed late that night, sitting beside her massive head. "You're not sick," he whispered, studying her eyes. "You're grieving." He'd read about it in the old Earth texts salvaged from the crash. Dragons mated for life. Vex'tharon's partner had died 2 months ago in battle. The handlers had simply assigned her a new breeding mate, not understanding. Kael began talking to her about his own mother, lost in the crash, about pain and memory and the importance of honoring those who'd gone. He brought her to the cliff where her mate's ashes had been scattered. He sat with her through the long nights, asking nothing, just being present. Slowly, Vex'tharon began to eat again. Word spread through the breeding grounds. The human had done what no Draconian could. He'd understood. When Emperor Skarzeth himself arrived to inspect his prize dragons, he found his entire breeding stock, 20 of the Empire's most ancient and powerful dragons, gathered around a human boy. They weren't threatening him. They were listening as he checked each one, speaking in soft tones, reading their body language with uncanny precision. "Impossible," the Emperor growled. "Dragons do not submit to lesser beings." Kael turned, unbothered by the Emperor's presence. "They're not submitting, Your Majesty. They're communicating. There's a difference." "Insolent child." Vex'tharon moved then, placing her massive body between Kael and the Emperor. A warning. The other dragons shifted, wings spreading in ancient gestures of protection. The Emperor's guards reached for weapons, but Skarzeth raised a claw to stop them. In 10,000 years, he had never seen dragons defend anyone outside their own kind. "Ow!" the Emperor demanded. Kael shrugged. "On Earth, we lived with animals for millennia before we reached the stars. We domesticated wolves into dogs, horses into partners, raptors into hunters. Not through domination, through relationship. We learned to listen." He stroked Vex'tharon's scales. "You've bred dragons for war and power. But you've forgotten they're also capable of trust, loyalty, and love." The Emperor stared at this human child who had accomplished what his empire never could: true partnership with the dragons. "The human colony," Skarzeth said slowly, "they will be freed, given land, resources, citizenship." He looked at Kael. "And you will teach my people what you know." Kael met the Emperor's gaze steadily. "Only if you promise to treat them as partners, not weapons." Around them, the dragons rumbled their approval, a sound that shook the ground and echoed across the breeding grounds. The Draconian Empire had ruled through strength for 10,000 years. But on that day, they learned something more powerful. Compassion bridged worlds, and respect earned loyalty that fear never could. And it took a human stable boy to teach them.